Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT15, and BT15 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to be able to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be the latest iteration of the Loogamon deck, or Sons of Chaos Dark Animals. So as far as the strategy of the deck, it really didn't change that much compared to what it was doing in BT14. It's still going to be a deck that's centered around Sons of Chaos, X-Antibody, and the Dark Animal traits, as well as just being an OTK combo stack style deck, where the second you move out is when you're going to be digivolving all the way up your chain, playing lots of bodies, and swinging for big damage, with Security Attack +1 because of Alliance, and Unsuspends thanks to some of your abilities. Loogamon also has the ability to just swarm the field on the higher stages thanks to being able to play out your Digimon from your trash, as well as just having some really good generic purple tech that just wants to fill your trash as quickly as you possibly can. That just synergizes with what Loogamon is already trying to do, which is drawing and discarding in order to set itself up. So as far as the biggest weaknesses of the deck, it's still, well, an OTK deck at the end of the day. So you're not really doing a whole lot to interact with your opponent while you're trying to set up, and if the opponent is just fast enough, they can just beat you out before you could get your full setup, or they could pressure you into going into your setup when you're not completely all there. And that can create some inconsistencies when it comes to building the perfect stack, and if you don't necessarily have the perfect stack, you might not even have the ability to kill the opponent. Then the deck also has a hard time with removal from security, being an OTK style deck, as well as certain Ace Digimon being able to just beat you out or shut you out of what your game plan is trying to do. But the deck is still a very strong and rewarding deck and has lots of different tech and tools to be able to accommodate for the meta. So with all that said and done, let's just dive right into the deck profile. Starting off with the Digitamas, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Baumon as the only Digitama. So the way the deck functions, we actually do need his inheritable ability to be able to digivolve from our trash off of the Digimon we're discarding, so that way we could use him in combination with all of our discard abilities to turn them into evolutions. And then when it comes to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Loogamon. So this is the BT14 Loogamon, and this is going to be the main rookie that we want to use in our ideal perfect stack. So its native ability is already pretty good on helping us set up our Tamer, as well as gain some extra memory to play around with and make our plays possible or better. And then his inheritable ability also is pretty important on helping us gain memory when we're playing our Dark Animal traded Digimon. Then I'm going to be running 3 copies of Loogamon from BT15, so this is just, well, another Loogamon for us to use. Then this card's actually pretty decent in his own right, because we get to use his ability native to him to try to help cycle through our deck and be able to delete low-level Digimon or Digimon that are weak enough to get certain threats off the field. Then on top of that, his inheritable ability is kind of similar to the BT14's. It's not necessarily as good and a little bit more situational in terms of it actually being super effective, but it's still really good at helping us with our memory management, because at the end of our tech, if the opponent has 1 or more memory, which we already know based on the level 6, we could give the opponent 1 or more memory and still maintain our turn, so that way we could use this ability to help us gain some extra memory that way. And then the last rookie of the deck, it could kind of just be whatever you feel like you want it to be. I'm going to be running 3 copies of Loogamon because there's no real reason not to. Loogamon is just fantastic at helping us generate some extra resources to be able to make our plays even stronger. So he's allowing us to be able to hatch a new egg in our raising area whenever a Digimon moves from the raising area to the battle area. Yes, this does include himself, but we also get to then gain an additional memory for doing so, and that 1 extra memory can help us make certain plays, or just make our plays that we were going to make a little bit stronger. Then when it comes to the level 4s, I'm going to be running 4 copies of the BT14 Loogamon because this is still just the most ideal level 4 for us to use. mostly for that inheritable ability being the exact same as the inheritable ability off of the BT14 Loogamon. So having the extra abilities on gaining us memory for playing out our dark animals is super valuable at making us hyper tempo efficient. Then on top of that, his when attacking ability isn't too bad either, allowing us to be able to try to cycle through our deck. And also, if we have our main tamer underneath him, we also get to gain an additional memory, which can help in certain situations. Then I'm going to be running 2 copies of the brand new BT15 Loogamon. So this is, well, another Loogamon for us to run. He has a nice when digivolving and when attacking ability, so we have the flexibility on how we can approach him versus the old one, which is just when we're attacking. But regardless, it's still helping us try to fill up our trash, and it's going to be helping him gain some extra DP. And if we have an SOC traded tamer in his Digivolution source, we'll also be able to draw a card, replacing what we just lost. Then he also has a nice end of attack ability that's similar to, well, the BT15 Loogamon, having that alternative way to be able to gain some additional memory at the end of our attack. Then when it comes to just some of the other level 4s, I'm going to be running 3 copies of the BT15 Tyrannomon. So yes, there is kind of lore purposes behind that because in Seekers, AG does have 3 Tyrannomons, but regardless, I just like what this card does because he's just natively a blocker, so he adds some extra defensive capabilities into the deck, on top of him being an SOC traded card, so he still fits on theme and synergizes with our deck, as well as his on-play ability at being a really good consistency tool, looking for our other SOC Digimon and Tamers, and then also helping fill up the trash if we added cards into our hand using his ability. And then when it comes to more level 4s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Black Gatomon, mostly for that native ability of Rush, so that way we could revive it and have an extra attacker right away, but the Retaliation inheritable ability also can come in handy at times. And then the last card could kinda, again, just be whatever you feel like. I'm electing to use 1 copy of the BT14 Fangmon, just because being able to cycle through our trash and grab back what we want is super valuable in case there is something in our trash that we actually need. Then when it comes to the level 5s, we're still going to be running, for the most part, the same exact level 5 lineup. So 4 copies of the BT14 Soul Loogamon helps us be able to play our Digimon from our trash and be able to increase the range if he has AG underneath. On top of his when attacking ability to discard a card to gain a memory is really good, because mostly we're going to be discarding Fenry Loogamon to be able to use our egg to get that evolution off of that discard. And because we're gaining a memory, it makes that evolution technically a little bit cheaper. And then on top of that, his inheritable ability allowing us to unsuspend when we play a Dark Animal or SOC traded card is really good at just making our level 6 have more aggression. Then I'm going to be running 3 copies of Loogamon. So this is kind of the removal backbone of the deck, because at the end of our turn we get to delete this Digimon, draw 2 cards, which is already helping with the consistency, on top of letting us grab back a Loogamon from our trash to our hand, which is really good, especially now that we're running more of them. And then the ability we're really trying to gain on top of that consistency is the fact that his on delete ability allows us to discard 3 cards from our hand that have to have a Dark Animal or SOC in their traits to be able to then delete one of the opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon, and for each card we trashed, we get to increase the level that this card can reach, so we obviously want to try to discard as much as possible to reach as high of a level, so that way we could delete anywhere from between a level 3 to a level 6 off of our level 5. Then the last level 5 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Chimeramon. So this is just the DNA, because we're already spawning a whole bunch of level 4s. Our level 4s most likely are going to end up being suspended because of Alliance, and we could use the DNA Digivolution to just make a new Digimon and be extra aggressive, because we could attack with that Digimon right away. So its when Digivolving ability also is pretty decent at allowing us to place a level 5 or lower Digimon from our trash into his inheritable sources, so that way we could even pick and choose what effects we want to try to line up with him. On top of that, then up to 4 of the opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 for each of this Digimon's colors until the end of the opponent's turn, so that debuff also could help on clearing out specific Digimon, as well as just being a little bit disruptive towards what the opponent could be doing. And then the way he's getting colors is by having multiple colors in his Digivolution source. So while he has 4 or more colors, he's also going to get an extra 4,000 DP. He, by default, is going to be white. Then we're going to be adding purple underneath because, well, the base of the deck's color is purple. And then we also have red and yellow that we could splash into him if we line up our inheritables correctly off of our DNA and off of his ability. So he potentially could have 4 colors representing him to get that DP boost. Then when it comes to the level 6s, I'm just going to be running 4 copies of Fenry Loogamon as the only level 6 because, well, this is the only level 6 that we actually need. So what he's doing is he has a nice Wind Digivolution ability to be able to play out a level 4 or lower Dark Animal or SOC traded card from our trash for free, which is already really good at being able to spawn the extra body. But if we do have our AG in his Digivolution source, we get to add 2 to the number of cards that we could play by this effect. So off of when Digivolving with our Tamer underneath, he's going to play out a total of 3 bodies, which is just a lot of pressure to be able to apply to the opponent, especially with all of their on-play abilities activating and the fodder potential that they can be for Alliance. Then he also has a nice when attacking ability where we get to delete 1 of the opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon to unsuspend this Digimon. And then for each of the Digimon that we have on our field, the level we get to choose increases by 1. So by default, he's going to be deleting a level 4 just because he does count himself. And because he's also spawning 3 additional bodies at max power, means that we could delete all the way up to a level 7 with this ability. Then on top of that, he even has a nice extra ability where the end of turn condition starts the opponent if they have 3 or more memory, making it so we could still play some of our cards even if the memory counter moves over onto the opponent's side, because now they have to have at least 3 memory in order for it to be their turn. Then when it comes to the level 7s, I'm not running any level 7s, but if I was running any level 7, it probably would be a Death Exmon just because it's a super easy card for the deck to use, and it's a very good and powerful card that can handle and help against certain matchups. But as far as the Tamers go, I'm just going to be running 4 copies of AG. So AG is the main Tamer of the deck at the start of our main phase. If the opponent has a Digimon, we get to gain an extra memory, which helps with our overall memory management, on top of him having the Mind Link ability to tuck himself under Dark Animal or SOC traded cards. Then, while he's underneath those said cards, he's going to have the All-Turns ability to be able to have our Dark Animal or SOC Digimon have Alliance and Blocker. So most of the time, we're not really going to be using the Blocker part. We're just going to be using the Alliance part to be able to suspend the extra bodies we're going to be spawning to give those stats and an extra security attack to our main attacker. Then he even has an end of turns ability to be able to split him out from our Digimon's inheritable source. This can happen during your turn or the opponent's turn, so if you actually need to leave up a blocker, you are able to do so and still be able to split him out before your turn to be able to still have access at that extra memory. And then the only other Tamer of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Analog Youth. So Analog Youth is just one of the cheapest and best digging tools, especially for purple decks, because he gets to reveal the top 3 cards, we get to add any Digimon among them, and the important part is we're trashing the rest. So that way the cards are going to be in our trash for us to use later for some of our abilities. His secondary ability, where all turns, when one of our level 5 or higher Digimon with Digivolution source gets deleted, we get to suspend this Tamer, and if we do, we get to gain a memory and hatch an egg into an empty space in our raising area. So he has some really cute combo plays that we could use in combination with Hell Loogamon, because Hell Loogamon is able to delete himself, triggering our Analog Youths. Then on top of that, when it comes to the options, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Purple Memory Boost. So this is just another consistency tool looking for a purple Digimon while having the main ability to delay and gain us 2 memory to help again with our overall memory management. And that's why I'm also going to be running 4 copies of Wisdom Training. Wisdom Training searches a little bit less, hits more potential targets than Memory Boost, and is a little bit cheaper while also still effectively saving us on 2 memory with its delay ability. We're just forced to evolve if we use this delay ability, but most of the time we're going to try to use this to evolve from our level 3 to our level 4 or our level 4 into our level 5, depending on what the setup and situation is. Then the last option of the deck could kind of be whatever you feel like you want it to be. I decided not to play a level 7, so I had the ability to play 1 copy of a Delicate Plan because we still are running some red cards to be able to have one of our Digimon gain the ability to turn off the opponent's security abilities on their options, which could help make our Digimon even more safe, swinging into the opponent's security, knowing that we're not going to hit some stray removal card that could absolutely swing games into the opponent's favor. But that's pretty much it for the deck. The deck really didn't get a whole lot of changes, but the changes that it did get are very impactful and meaningful to upping the overall potency and consistency of the deck. And then as far as just some other useful cards that you could think of, we do just have lots of other synergies that we could think of and different cards that we can incorporate depending on the meta you're expecting, what you have access to, and what you want to try to prioritize. So we do have some other Dark Animal synergies, we have some other self-discarding synergies, we do have removal options in both purple and red that we have access to, as well as just some other good generic tech cards to try to round out the deck a little bit more. And then when it comes to some potential future upgrades, we actually do get more upgrades in the future, making this deck a pretty decent deck to want to invest in.